Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Stop with that.
Whatever. You suck at drawing, bro.
Excuse me? Oh, hi. I'm Marc. I used to be a senior artist at Blizzard Entertainment, and now I teach art for a living, among other things. In this new episode of my weekly series that I've been calling YouTube Art School, we're going to be talking about happiness. More specifically, what makes us happy or unhappy in the overall process of creating art, and what we can do about it. This more psychological side of the art has come up a lot recently here in the comments, and so I think it's important to discuss it. If you've noticed that your motivation to do art comes and goes in waves, or maybe comes and goes to never return, well, I'm going to give you 5 pieces of advice that have helped me over the years when I wasn't feeling motivated, or when I found myself in a slump. Happens to everyone. I think this might resonate with a lot of you, so quickly, let's get this class started. Alright, class is in session. Pay attention. Today, I wanted to give some advice on what might help you stay motivated in a sustainable way consistently as an artist. Pretty annoying, but our head gets in the way of our art most of the time. If you could deal with that better somehow, if your inner voice was always on your side when you'd be like, hey man, I should be drawing right now, and your inner voice went, damn right son, I'm stoked, so let's sit down and draw for hours. Wouldn't that be nice if that were always the case? Unfortunately, most of the time that voice will be fighting against us, pulling us away from sitting down and doing art, whispering stuff like, maybe later, I don't feel like it right now. What's the point? I'll never be the best. And while we can often deal with a little bit of self-resistance and still keep progressing over time, if you let that inner voice boss you around too much, you'll start to listen to it more. Maybe start to believe it. Over time, it might even come to define you. And that's the opposite of what we want. That's a great way to feel unhappy. Hopefully, in this video, I'll show you a few ways to deal with that inner voice. Advice that works for me in dealing with bad habits, laziness, procrastination, and keeping me on track with my art. It might not work to fix all your problems, of course, but I will guarantee you that it will make you feel happier about your art, about yourself. And there's really nothing magical at play here. Most feelings of personal growth are usually associated with happiness. Just like in a game when you make progress or your RPG character gets stronger. It feels good. That makes us feel happiness. That growth might sometimes be hard to maintain though, especially in real life, therefore negatively affecting our happiness. And that's not good. We want to keep the growth going. And here's how to keep it up over time. Here's how you beat the game. I'll be comparing these 5 bits of advice to RPG games a lot since I think it helps remember them. Anyways, here's the first one. Let's go right in. Daily quests. So one thing that is quite annoying in life is that even if you work out for years or stay on a good diet for years or draw daily for years, if you happen to stop for a little while, you're already in trouble. I think we all know that the longer you stop something that requires some effort on your part, the harder it is to get back into it, whatever that it is. Making any effort is hard work for the brain, and we're all inherently lazy. And that's a problem. The harder the task, the harder it is to keep it up as part of your routine long term. We'd rather take the route that offers the least resistance. That's more comfortable. But comfort completely works against personal growth, against what makes us happy in the long run. It might immediately feel good, like it feels good to procrastinate, but long term, we start hating ourselves over it. Now, here's how I recommend that you deal with that. It's worked wonders for me. Every day, usually when there's a natural downtime in my day, like before or after eating, or while I'm eating, I'll commit 2 minutes of my time to art. Only 2 minutes. That's all. That's it. Just a 2-minute commitment every single day. Everybody can do that much. The idea here is to keep the engines going, even if mostly on neutral. Just those few minutes daily alone should be enough to keep art on our mind, on your mind. It'll help reinforce to yourself the idea that you're keeping up with your routine. You're not stopping. You're still on track. Actually, it doesn't even need to be drawing. It could be just a quick 2-minute doodle, of course, but it could also be to look at art for 2 minutes or carefully observe something for a few minutes. Slow and steady wins the race when fast and steady isn't an option at the time. What you want to avoid at all costs is taking a break. By making the task so insignificant, we're much more likely to keep doing it. 2 minutes might not seem like it's enough, but you'll see quite often that 2 minutes will turn into a lot longer of a session if that gets you in the mood for it. Still, only commit 2 minutes. Time it. Achieving goals also happens to make us feel happy, however small the goal. The small daily quest really helps over time. Start doing that today. The next one is level up. Leveling up is fun. I'd argue it's the most rewarding aspect of doing art. I get such a kick when I draw something and it feels much easier than it used to be some time ago. It's like gaining a new superpower. That's the best way I can describe it. You know what I mean if it's happened to you. It's like going back to a starting zone in an RPG game where all the monsters can't hurt you at all anymore since you've gotten so strong. When you get better at something, it feels good. Your brain releases happy hormones. So how do you get that feeling more often? Or how do you get it at all if you've never experienced it? The key metric here is time. The faster you go from sucking at something to being good at something, the better it feels. If it takes you too much time to level up, you simply lose track of how much you've actually improved and it doesn't feel particularly rewarding. So to help level up faster, focus. Focus on a few skills instead of many. If you have 10 hours to spend on 10 different skills, that only leaves you with 1 hour for each if you spread it evenly. You probably won't level up much. You won't feel particularly happy about it. If you spend those 10 hours on a single skill, however, that's a skill that you'll have practiced 10 times more in comparison, and that's a lot more. You'll get a lot better at it, a lot faster. Maybe it's anatomy, maybe it's gesture drawing, whatever it is. It's far better, in my opinion, to get the happiness boost from significantly leveling up a single skill rather than spreading yourself thin and not feeling particularly more happy as a result. The more scattered your studies, I'd argue the least happy you'll be. Focus. Focus your way to happiness. Focus on leveling up ASAP. The third advice has to do with endgame. Beating a final boss in a game or playing through a full game to completion can be pretty hard depending on the game. Pretty stressful, so why do we do it? For the payoff, for the reward. It gives meaning to the effort. If you have a goal, something to achieve, it gives you an even better reason to keep leveling up. If the game didn't reward us for the hard work when we reached the end, then why the hell would you even care to get there? That'd be a pretty shitty game. Sure, leveling up here and there might help you keep going for a little while, but unless there's an endgame, a greater goal to reach, there's not much incentive to keep going long term. The goal here as an artist will be different depending on who you ask, but most of you have goals in mind. Reasons to keep practicing your art, reasons to get better beyond just getting better. It can be to become a professional working in a studio one day. It could be to just show off to your crush, or to draw a comic one day, or to become a teacher, or whatever. The problem here with long-term goals is that it's long-term. It's a lot easier to lose track. It's usually the main drive behind the effort, so what happens if you lose track of why you're practicing? Eventually, just like in a game that's boring, that has no end game, you stop practicing. That hinders your growth and happiness goes away. It's very, very important to keep that goal in mind. Keep it front and center. Keep reminding yourself of that reward, of what you're working towards. Learn more about that goal. Get to a point where you know exactly what you're gonna get when you reach it. That's going to be a huge motivation push if you can keep it in sight. Literally, get a poster with your goal written on it or an image that represents it. Have it on your phone wallpaper, on your computer wallpaper. Don't ever lose track of it. Keep your eyes on the goal, on the end game. Fourth advice. Form a party. This advice applies as much as games as it does to your art journey. It's more fun when you do it with friends. Join or form a party for your adventures. Motivation is hard to maintain on your own long term, even for the most focused people. Even if you keep reminding yourself of your goal, a little backup always helps. Seek help, team up, join a community where you can form strong bonds with others and be there for support so that they will be there when it's you who eventually needs help. With art or with your personal life, whatever. You know what friends are for. And for that, smaller communities are best. Ever since I was younger, I've been hanging on different forums that had small artist communities, participating as much as I could. I've met some awesome people, made great friends, and it's made the journey so much more exciting. But more importantly, it's kept me on track. Now I have the same kind of close-knitted community with my students that are part of my mentorship, and the same applies for them. I've seen them make friends, start working on projects together, feed off of each other, help each other. It's the best. Humans are social creatures, even the most introverted of us. Join a small party and go on this adventure as a group. Sometimes your family will suck. Maybe it always sucks. Maybe your real life friends suck. Just don't underestimate the happiness that you can get from finding good friends online. Friends that are just like you with similar passions. You can start looking in Facebook groups, on Discord groups, on forums like the QBrush forums. It takes time and effort, but if an introvert like me was able to find something, I'm sure you'll be fine. And then finally, last advice, easy mode. It's gonna be a quick one. Always play on easy mode. This one is a little bit inspired by Tim Ferriss, the author. He mentions something similar, but in a more general sense. When tackling a problem in life, he suggests that we ask ourselves, what would this look like if it were easy? The goal here is to simply remove as many potential barriers between you and the solution. When it comes to artists, I'd phrase it slightly differently to something like, how can I do this on easy mode? And here I'm not really talking about the drawing, the sculpt, or the painting itself. I'm talking about the general action of creating art. What gets in the way of you sitting down and being productive? Find the path of least resistance to you sitting down on your chair and creating some art. Don't underestimate convenience. The more convenient something is, the more likely you are to do it. Procrastination is convenient. Uh-oh. How do you not procrastinate then? Make the task, the act of sitting down and starting to create art, almost as convenient as procrastinating. This could mean to leave your PC open all the time with Photoshop running and the tablet right there on your desk, ready to go. Maybe it would be to have a few cheap sketchbooks laying around the house. Cheap, so that you don't feel any pressure to create something amazing. When sketchbooks are too expensive, I always feel anxious drawing anything in them, in case it looks bad and I end up wasting an expensive sheet of paper. Don't worry about your equipment so much. Don't set high expectations for yourself. Take it easy. Have fun. Prioritize the fun. When you play on easy mode in a game, all the hard stuff, what makes you rage, tends to mostly go away, and you're just left to enjoy the experience, right? When you keep hitting walls, getting stuck, dying in the game, how's that fun? It's not. That's when you break your controllers. Is that just me? Whatever, play on easy mode. Make the path between wanting to do art and you actually creating art as direct and short as possible. The more things get in your way, the more likely you are to procrastinate or to give up. And that's it for today's class. I hope it helps. Let me know what you think. Do you relate to some of this? What gets in the way of your happiness? Say it down below. Oh, and bonus loot, you can get my brushes for free in the top right corner of the screen right here and down in the description below. They cost $0. They're free!